Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Peter Abraham. I'm a second career registered nurse focused in advanced illness, specifically those illnesses that would qualify for either palliative care or hospice care. Those are two separate services. I am a certified end-of-life doula through the International Doula Life Movement, a writer and a book author. If you're new to this channel, welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time to visit. In this channel, we talk about issues related to death and dying. After all, we are all going to die. Wouldn't it be best if we understood what that process looked like to be unafraid? There's nothing to fear. We're all going to die. I'll have video discussions for my fellow hospice nurses. That will be the topic of today's video. My fellow holistic nurses, caregivers, family members, patients, and my fellow end-of-life professionals, most of whom fit into the end-of-life or death doula category. If these are topics of interest to you, please consider hitting the subscribe button and the bell notification that you're notified of new videos. I do try to publish every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday consistently, and here and there might be video updates on gardening or housing projects here in Madison County, Kentucky, or about faith-based issues as we had with the brutal assassination of Charlie Kirk, or just different tidbits. Before I get into the topic of today's videos, which was going to be focusing mainly on my best-selling book, Compliance-Based Eligibility-Driven Hospice Documentation, I want to ask you a question. What are you grateful for? I strongly believe, and you can answer it in the comments or keep it to yourself. This is a non-judgmental channel. I strongly believe that if you want to be able to handle all the rocks, the stones, the sticks, whatever life throws at you, whatever happens in your life, loss, trauma, tragedy, that if you build resilience, you're able to snap back better. I believe there are three pillars to resilience. We focus on the third here. In case you're wondering, and I don't hold punches on this, it's faith in Christ Jesus. As Jesus proclaimed, he is the only way to heaven. Forgiveness and gratitude. I believe those are the three pillars. We focus on the third, mainly in part because a lot of people don't want to hear the gospel message, and I try to respect that. Forgiveness, I know, can be very challenging, but I believe that while it may be difficult right in the midst of grief and loss, what am I grateful for might be an insanity question. But once you pull back even a little, look at what are you grateful for. So I'm grateful first and foremost to each of you that come here and listen to my verbosity, my discussions, and I do hope sincerely that you're being blessed in one way, shape, or form by what I hope to educate, to teach, to pass on, to brainstorm with you. I encourage those. I'm so grateful for the lady who just messaged me. This is less than 24 hours old, so that you're aware I film in advance of publication. So today is Tuesday, September 22nd, 2025. This is most likely going to be published in very early October. So by then, it's going to be like 2 weeks old. But I've been hearing more and more from nursing leaders nationwide. They are using my various hospice books. I have 21 published for hospice nurses. As a side note, 22 for caregivers, 4 for holistic nurses. Thank you so much, Marie, who uses my motivational interviewing guide for holistic nurses as one of the foundations, not the only one, but one of the foundations for teaching her courses to LPNs and RNs to be able to have the ability to work from home remotely. And 6 books for my fellow end-of-life doulas. But my hospice books are becoming more and more of a landmark nationwide. I've heard from Shelley Henry saying, she visited an agency in California they had this book, or it might have been the eligibility book, and they're saying that they give it to all their nurses. So that blesses my heart, because it just, not only that the book is blessing and helping others, uh, I get a small portion of the price as a royalty. There's a print cost. Amazon takes their fees as a portion, and I get a small portion as a royalty, and that really helps in terms of making ends meet with things. So I appreciate that. Now, in terms of moving forward, the topic of today's video, I want to go over why is this book helping so many nurses. And I'm going to share from my own personal experience without naming any parties. My goal is to never throw anyone under the bus. My goal is to uplift everyone, to encourage everyone to excellence, to improve, and to be better at what they do. Go for your dream and bloom and grow. And as I share what I'm about to share, I'm human. I make mistakes. I don't know it all. I just try my best to love everyone that I can and help who I can. If you have questions, comment below. Non-judgmental channel. If you look at the About Us section, it gives you a way to email me. Reach out to me. I don't mind brainstorming. I don't mind constructive criticism. I like discussion and learning and growth. But I'm gonna read to you from chapter 3 just a little bit. But before I go there, I want to share with you the problem, one of the pain points. And I'm sure if you're a fellow hospice nurse and you're watching this video, you've been there. You've been there. You're assigned to see a patient. Maybe they're not yours, or you just got them. You didn't do the admission. Maybe you didn't do the past X number of visits, but you're told, Peter, or whatever your name is, you're going to see so-and-so today. So you do your due diligence. You pull up the nursing notes. You pull up the admission, the start of care note, SOC. You pull up the last couple visits. And you've probably seen this where, why are they on service? What's been going on for the last 2 weeks? I saw a visit was done, but did they have any discomfort? Was there short of breath? What was going on? What type of caregiver education took place? Where are they at with their medication refills? Any new DME needs? And you're scratching your head and like, I'm expected to go in and fill in the gap, but I don't even know what's going on with this person. And so when I worked at the different hospice agencies, and I love being transparent. So my hospice work is from Pennsylvania. Those of you who've been watching my channel know that I've been trying to get part-time hospice nurse here in Kentucky, but part-time's 12 hours. That's its own rabbit trail. I'm not going to go there and put you through that. So, but you've all been there. And that not only makes your job harder because you're going in there like I'm going to use the word blind date, not that you're going to hope for anything romance, but you're going in there, they're blind, deaf, dumb, and mute. And it's like, how do I make the best of this and give them the best care, the best service, and everything else? Or you're called to do an interdisciplinary group. They're out today. Can you handle the IDG session? And you're going and reading their notes, and you can't even paint a picture why they're even on service or what they've been through in the past 2 weeks. We have to do better. We have to do better. One of the lessons I learned from Carrie Denesi, who works for, I don't know if she's still with Bright Spring, but she was in compliance. And I really appreciate Kim Yarnell from 𝑬𝒍𝒊𝒂𝒊𝒃𝒊𝒍𝒊𝒕𝒚 that's now a Medicis company. Carrie Denesi from Bright Spring. They would be my cheerleaders saying, Peter, we always trust your documentation because the pictures are always complete. They didn't have to worry if there was going to be an auditor come in. And one of the lessons I hope to pass on to you that's watching this today, whatever day that is, when Medicare or CHAP or whatever, when somebody looks at audits, sometimes they have zero medical background. Zero. They may have a bachelor's degree or a master's degree, but they're not medical. And if they read the notes and they see somebody and they're scratching their head, this reads like custodial care, i.e. long-term care, whether they're at home or a nursing home. This reads like they're custodial. They're going to be doing flags galore as to why in the world is this person on hospice? You've been committing Medicare fraud. In order to best serve our patients, we have to write. Part of the reason that this book is named compliance-based, because our note should be written with compliance in mind. Our notes should be written with eligibility in mind. Our note should paint a picture, not just from admission, but the visit. Why are they still on hospice? What have we been doing? What did we just do? Any gaps for future visits? What education, and take credit for what you're doing. So going from chapter 3, why do we want to write detailed hospice nursing narratives? And when I say detailed, I don't mean write a book or write even a chapter, but there should be several paragraphs. Remember, hit the enter key and have space between the paragraphs. Make it easier on the person. There could be a triage on-call nurse getting a call in 1 a.m. in the morning. Maybe they were sleeping and maybe they're up for their shift. You want them to be able to quickly identify the pain points and know what was going on. You want readability in mind. You're not writing this for a professor, you're writing this for your teammates. Could be a social worker, could be a chaplain, could be another nurse, could be an auditor. You want to write this very thorough and detailed. So you want to ensure continuity of care. So accurate documentation, thorough documentation means that the next person going in, it could be a social worker, a chaplain, could be a hospice volunteer who, if they were given permission to have access to that, or triage, again, audits, supporting eligibility. I cannot emphasize this enough. It is critically important that every note that you write sustain eligibility. Does that mean, and I love Shelley Henry from the Amity Group, and by the way, if you're struggling for documentation, they have the DAHN, I pronounce it Dawn. It's not spelled like it's pronounced, but it's DAHN, is an AI-based hospice-specific app to help you with your documentation. I do believe you should read this, unbiased, because if you have mastery over how you document, you use AI less, and you always want to double check the output of any AI agent. And I trust the Amity Group, but you'll always want to double check. But one of the common questions, and keep in mind, I'm going to use the word stable, but we don't want to ever write stable. Take it out of, don't let it touch your fingertips. But what if they're well managed? Well, you could talk about that they're well managed. You could talk about that the only reason that they've been able to walk 5 feet is because of what you've done, and go over what you've done. Take credit for the work that you're doing. It gives legal and ethical protection. It enhances communication, and it reflects the compassionate care that you are providing to your loved ones. Take credit for your work. Don't be sloppy in your documentation. In terms of the nursing narrative, and this is on page 14 of the book, by the way, page 13 started the chapter. Well-crafted narrative typically includes patient observations, detailed notes on the patient physical condition, symptoms, cognitive status, emotional well-being. Let us not forget the emotional part. Hospice, one of the things that brought me to hospice, it's the reason why I'm an end-of-life doula too, because I get to spend more time doing it. It's not just the physical. It's the physical, the psychosocial, the spiritual, the emotional, the entire well-being. The interventions that were done, both non-pharmacological and pharmacological, any comfort measures, any therapeutic activities. I would often talk in my notes, if I had a long-term dementia patient that I knew was appropriate, I would fight against inappropriate admissions. Anyone who should be discharged, I fought the good fight. But if they were appropriate, but I can't do anything more. I talked about the time I spent using validation therapy from 𝑬𝒍𝒊𝒂𝒊𝒂𝒊𝒂𝒊𝒂𝒊𝒂𝒊𝒂𝒊𝒂𝒊𝒂 how I did that, how that helped them. Maybe I would spend time playing instrumental music and just holding their hand, or otherwise providing a compassionate presence. That is a valid reason for support. If you research 𝑬𝒍𝒊𝒂𝒊𝒂𝒊𝒂𝒊𝒂𝒊𝒂 the wonderful things that she did. She passed away late 2023. That was care. That was treatment. And that is a valid use of time. Take the reward, document what you did. The outcomes. I've had cases with validation therapy where I come in and they're moaning and groaning, and it wasn't a case of drugs aren't always the answer. Pharmacology is not all the answer. I use validation therapy, and by the end of the visit, they're calm and collected. Take credit for it and write it down. Any interactions, conversations, family members highlighting it. Keep in mind, you're not writing down this in terms of gossip. You have to watch, even though the software out there we're using is encrypted, at least that's my hope. You don't want to go too far with what you're documenting, again, because a third-party person could be auditing a chart. You want to stick to positive outcomes and truths. And again, continuity of care, enhancing communication. In terms of the length of the narrative, we're going to come to a close in a moment because I don't want to go over the entire chapter. Don't be upset over that. But the nursing narrative is a critical tool. Just so that you're aware, one of my battles that I've had with every hospice agency that I worked with when it came to the charting system that they utilized. A lot of charting systems go to checks and, check marks, radio buttons, check boxes, and whatever. Give me the nursing narrative. A well-written nursing narrative is so easy for anyone else coming in to paint the picture and tell the story. If I have to go and figure out the checks that were checked, the radio buttons that were picked, this is like Common Core math. It's like, are you kidding me? I'm not saying don't have any of them at all, but it's like the nursing narrative is so important. So the narrative is just as long as it takes to document the story. So factors that determine length, the complexity of the patient condition. I've had drug addicts as patients. Their nursing narratives were probably several pages long, because I would include narcotic counts, both from the last visit, this visit, the difference between the two, and what should the count be based on doctor's orders, and do another comparison. Because of doing that, I was able to provide proof to the hospice agency that my one drug addict was overdosing on street drugs and not. They were underutilizing the hospice medications and overutilizing street drugs and street products. So you make it as long as it takes, and not that everyone was that long. Sometimes my narrative might be a 1 to 2 paragraphs that might be 5 to 10 sentences long. We're not saying writing a book or writing a chapter. Key elements to include for complex conditions: symptom description, detailed observations, frequency, severity, interventions and responses, changes over time. Also note the visit type and the purpose. Was it a routine visit, PRN visit, triage call visit, admission visit, recertification visit? And best practices, and this is where I'm going to be coming to a close. Be specific and clear. Use clear, specific language to describe symptoms, interventions, patient responses. Avoid vague terms that can lead to misinterpretation. Watch your abbreviations. Please, for the love of God, watch abbreviations. Not like, I'm a geeky nerd, and sometimes I see abbreviations like, is it this or is it that? Because that abbreviation could be used like 2 or 3 ways. Focus on key information. Highlight the most critical aspects of the patient condition and care. Include vital signs, symptom changes, interventions in the patient and family interactions. Use a structured format. Employ structured formats and templates. And by the way, in this book, I do give examples of what a routine visit looks like, a recertification, and so on. I do have a separate book specific for recertifications that goes into more detail for that. I do want to end here. I do thank you for your time. I thank you for everyone who has been buying and utilizing these books to complement and enhance their practice. Any questions, please ask below. Email me, reach out to me. I don't mind brainstorming. I love serving others. I love helping others. I appreciate you. Thank you, and God bless.